users have been confirmed. Then what we're going to do is we're going to loop through for confirmed user. In confirmed users, print confirmed user dot title. Okay, so let's run this program and see what we get. Oh, an error. Append, and I've misspelled append. Okay, remove that A and let's run it again. Verifying user Mary, verifying user Frank, verifying user Tony. The following users have been confirmed. Okay, so there's an interesting error. The following users have been confirmed, but built-in meta title string object. Okay, so let's see what that error is. Here we go. The title isn't working correctly, so let's just add in our brackets, which I forgot, run it again, and there we go, perfect. So let's just have a look at our program. So first we create a list of unconfirmed users. So again, imagine our software scenario, our email software scenario, and we have Tony, Frank, and Mary who clicked yes, subscribe to the newsletter. But they have not yet confirmed, so our list of confirmed users is empty. So while we have unconfirmed users, create the variable current user, and add to that variable unconfirmed users.pop. So add in one unconfirmed user at a time, and then print verifying the user plus the current user. When that's done, go to our confirmed users list, which at the moment is empty, and append in the current user. So that seems very simple and very straightforward, and it is. Once you type this out and run it a couple of times, you'll realize how simple it is. Finally, we display all confirmed users, and to do that, we loop through our confirmed user list and print out each confirmed user in title case. And you can see the result here. So in our program, because Mary is the last of the unconfirmed users in the list, so you can see her here, Mary, we added her in last, her name will be first be removed and stored in current user and added to our confirmed user list. So indeed, you can see her here in our confirmed user list, Mary. So I hope you found this lecture interesting. I certainly did, as it's more advancement on what we've been building up to so far. As always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now in this short lecture we're going to look at how to remove all instances of a specific value from a list using a while loop. So previously we used the remove method to remove a specific value from a list. This worked well because we only wanted to remove one specific value from a list. But what if we wanted to remove all instances of a value from a list? How would we go about that? Well, let's take a look. Okay, comments added. Now let's create a list that we want to remove items from. So let's go books. So if you haven't been following along, it should be very obvious by now that I'm a massive book lover. So let's go. Okay, so let me just look across my bookshelf now and have a look at some books to throw in. Okay, so let's go. Big data, and all of these books I highly recommend you read. So big data, and let's have a look. Checklists. What else? The firm. Now, because in this list we are going to remove specific values, what I want to do is I want to put a few repeats in. So after the next book, I'm going to start adding in some duplications. So let's have a look. One more book in here, and let's see what we have. We have Tesla's biography, so let's throw that in. Tesla, okay. Now, out of this list, which do I like the least? Well, I can tell you it's the firm. Sorry if the author happens to be watching this video, but it's true. So the firm, and let's just add in a few new duplications here. The firm. Okay, so we can see there that the firm has been duplicated 3 times. And just for clarity, let's print out our list. Print books. Let's run that. Okay, so there we go. And we can see the firm there 3 times. Okay, and let me just remove this print statement. So, while the firm is in books, so very easy to read this line here. So while the firm is in books, books.remove the firm. Okay, still very easy to read. Print books. And let's see what we get now. There we go. Excellent. A quick and simple way to remove all instances of the same value from a list. Okay, I hope you follow along with that lecture. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now in this lecture we're going to look at filling a dictionary with a user's input. So we can prompt as many times as we would like for user input with each pass through a while loop. Let's look now at a property renting program in which each pass through the loop prompts the users for property details. We'll store the data we gather in a dictionary because we want to connect each property with a particular user. So as you can see at the top I started off with some comments, just the basics. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create an empty dictionary. Create an empty dictionary. Okay, and how we do that is we're going to call this rental properties equals and our curly brackets. Now, next thing we're going to do, as we saw in the previous lecture, is we're going to set a flag. So set a flag to indicate we are taking applications for rental properties. So let's imagine that we are a real estate agency and we're looking for people to let us know if they have properties to rent. So rental, open, true. Okay. Now, while our rental open is true, so while rental open, and just let's add in a comment here, prompt users for the name and address. So prompt for the users name and address. Okay, so the user's name equals, actually I'll just change that to username equals input, double quotes, backslash new line, what is your name? Okay, now then the user's rental property, that equals input, so we're going to receive the property, what is the address of the property that you have to rent? Okay, there we go. Now what we want to do, as we said at the beginning of this lecture, is we want to store the responses from the users, store the response in a dictionary. So rental properties, and then we have our username equals rental property. Okay, now what we'd like to do next is we'd like to ask if the user knows anybody else who might like to rent out a property. So we're looking for business. Repeat equals input, double quotes, backslash n, new line. Do you know anyone who might like to rent out their property? Okay, perfect. Now, if repeat is no, then rental open, and I forgot my colon there, then rental open becomes false and our program will end, as we saw in the previous lecture. So we're really putting together a lot of elements that we've seen in previous lectures. What that will mean then is adding our property is complete. So what we want to do is we want to print. I'm going to use a nice little trick here. So print new line, backslash n, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, space property to rent, 1, 2, 3, close our brackets, so 4. I'm going to create a loop now. So for username and the rental property in rental properties dot items. So we're looping, as you can see. Print username plus has plus then the rental property plus open quotes space to rent. Okay, so this is probably one of the biggest programs that we've written so far. And what I'm going to do is, because we need user input, I'm going to open this up in our idle program. So bear with me for one moment while I open up idle. Okay, so here we are now in idle, and let's cross our fingers and toes and run it. What is your name? Well, my name is Tony Staunton. Okay, what is the address of the property that you have to rent? Well, my property is 101 Main Street. Do you know anyone who might like to rent out their property? No, I don't, not at the moment. Property to rent. Tony Staunton has 101 Main Street to rent. So you can see how, in the larger scale and larger thinking of a web application, this can come into play. This could become a link into, and we could click it to show more details of the property. Or even we could click on the username, and that would bring us into the username to show us all the properties that they have to rent, because it could be a big company. So that is probably one of the biggest programs we've written so far, and it really is an excellent coming together of everything that we've learned so far throughout the course. I hope that it all made sense. If not, please do not hesitate to contact me, and thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now we're moving into a new section, and that section is all about functions. And let me just kick off by saying that functions are fantastic. They are terrific. Functions are named blocks of code that are designed to do one specific job. When you want to program a specific task that you've defined in a function, you call the name responsible for it. When you need to perform the same task multiple times in your program, you don't have to type the same code over and over again as we've been doing previously. You can just call the required function. So now let's take a look at a simple example. Okay, so here we are. So let's first off define our function. So we do that by def. Actually, I'll add in some comments. Okay, so comments added. So we start by defining our function, and we do that by typing def for define. And then it's followed by the name of the function. So we're going to call this function hello world. Hello world. Now, we have no arguments to pass in the bracket, so we leave that empty. Later on, we'll see how we can put information in there. Next, every function must have a description, and we do that by first entering in three double quotes and giving it a description. Displaying hello world. And then we close it with 3 double quotes. Next, what do we want the function to do? Well, we want to print hello world. So this is what we actually want the function to do itself, hello world. Then finally, we call the function. So our function name is hello world. Hello world. We have no arguments to pass, so that's it. And let's see what happens when we run that. Okay, there we go, hello world. So let's just do a very quick recap. We defined our function, def, we entered in our function name, followed by brackets and a colon. We then opened up our function's comment or our function's description with 3 double quotes, displaying hello world, and close it off with 3 double quotes. Then we entered in what we wanted our function to do. So in this case, we just wanted to print out a simple hello world message. Following that, we called the actual function itself. So as we gave our name hello world to the function, we call that again at the end. And when we run it, it prints out our function. Throughout this section now, we're going to look at how we can get more features from our functions. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now we can update our hello world function from our last lecture to not only say hello world, but to also give us back a name. For the function to do this, we enter a username in the brackets of the function's definition at def hello world. So let's just do that now. So we start off again, so we have our comments, and we're going to start this from scratch again. Def hello world. And now in the last one we no information to pass into our brackets, but we're going to do that now. So we add username. By adding username here, we allow the function to accept any value of username we specify. Our function now expects us to provide a value for username each time we call it. So again, let's describe our function, and we do that with 3 double quotes, showing a username. Okay, and we close it with 3 double quotes again. This time we go print hello plus username. Don't forget our title that we saw at the very beginning, plus full stop, dot. Okay. The variable username in the definition of hello world is an example of a parameter, a piece of information the function needs to do its job. And then to finish off our program, we enter in again hello world, but we must pass it some more information. And we're going to give it our username here, Tony. The value Tony is an example of an argument. An argument is a piece of information that is passed from a function call to a function. So our function call is here, hello world, and this here, beginning with def, is our function. When we call the function, we place the value we want the function to work with in the brackets. In this example, the argument Tony was passed to the function hello world, and the value was stored in the parameter username. So let's run this and see what we get. There we go, hello Tony, capitalized with a full stop. So another very simple example and introduction to functions, this time about how we can pass information to a function. In later lectures, we'll look at how we can do this dynamically without having to predefine our argument as we did here. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. This lecture is just a short little lecture to explain some more about passing arguments to a function. So a function definition can have multiple parameters, and as we saw previously, the username here is what's called a parameter. So the function, as we just said, can have multiple parameters. The function call may then need multiple arguments. So here we only have one parameter, so that means we only need to give it one argument, which is here. But what happens if we had multiple parameters, like username 1, 2, and 3, we would have to go name 1, name 2, name 3. So it makes sense that we can pass arguments to our functions in a number of ways. We can use positional arguments, keyword arguments, and list and dictionaries of values. So in the next few lectures, we're going to be looking at each one of those in turn. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. In this lecture, we're looking at positional arguments. So when we call a function in Python, Python must match each argument in the function call with a parameter in the function definition. So the simplest way to do this is based on the order of arguments provided. So we saw that in the last lecture. Values matched this way are called positional arguments. To see how this works, consider a function that displays information about the one and only books topic. The function tells us what type of book each one is and the author. So let's have a look at how we might do this. So as always, we have some comments at the top. And let's now put in another comment, creating our function. And as we know, we start that off with def, and we're going to go book description. Now, we're going to put in 2 parameters here, book type and author name. There we go, there's our 2 parameters. And don't forget your colon. Next, our triple double quotes, which sounds like an oxymoron. Display book information. And we close it off with our quotes again. Now, what do we actually want this function to do? Well, first we want it to print. We want this to print on a new line. This book is a, and we have plus, book type, plus, full stop. Okay, so this book is, so it could be a science fiction, it could be non-fiction, it could be fiction, it could be romance, whatever it is, whatever argument we pass into the parameter, that's what it'll be. Then next we want to print the author of this book is space plus author name dot title, make it nice and clean, don't forget your brackets at the end of dot title, plus full stop. Okay, now we have to call our function. So we have our function's called book description, and as I said, we now need to match our arguments. So our first parameter is book type, so our argument must match that. So what is a book type? Well, non-fiction is a book type. The next parameter is author name. So let's go Ashley Vance. And in case you're wondering what book it is, it's the Everything Store about Amazon. Okay, so there we go. So let's run that and see what we get. This book is non-fiction. The author of this book is Ashley Vance, and it's capitalized and everything. So there we go. That is very, very nice, very clean, and a very handy function there. So within functions and within our programs, we can call a function as many times as needed. So let's go again, and let's go book description again. And let's say this is fiction. Don't forget, your arguments have to be surrounded in single quotes. And the author of this is Dan Brown. I'm sure most people are familiar with Dan Brown's work, the Da Vinci Code, and most recently Inferno. Okay, here we go. Command and B. There we are. Two little paragraphs. This book is non-fiction. The author of this book is Ashley Vance. This book is non-fiction. This book is fiction. The author of this book is Dan Brown. As we can just see now, we have our parameters up in our definition of our function, book type and author name. And then in our function call, which is book description, we put in our two arguments which must match our parameters. So, as you can see, and it's a good idea not to forget, order matters in positional arguments. If we were in this order, they would appear in our program in the wrong order. So always keep that in mind if you see any errors, any unexpected output. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to be looking at keyword arguments. So a keyword argument is a name-value pair that you pass to a function. You directly associate the name and the value within the argument. So when you pass the argument to the function, there is no confusion. Also, with keyword arguments, the keyword order does not matter. So let's have a look at how we will do this. So I started off with some comments. Positional arguments, but this is going to change now to keyword arguments. Positional arguments was our last lecture. Keyword arguments, there we go. Now let's start off by creating our function. Create a function. Perfect. And how do we do that? Well, DEF. And we're going to stick with our book function, so book description. Book description, so we have book type. And we have author. Okay, there we go. Don't forget your colon. So then we have our three quotes. Display book information. You always have to put in a description of your function. Now, what do we want the function to do? Like the last lecture, we want to print, quote, / new line. This is a, leave our quote there, close our quote there, plus book type, plus book, space book. Don't forget we're forming a sentence here, so in your quotes you still need your spaces. Then we print, the author is, the author is, space, plus author. Here we go, plus, full stop. Okay, close our brackets. Now, book description. So we're calling our function here, this is our function call. And like we said here now, what we're going to do is add in keyword arguments in the syntax of a name-value pair. So we have book type. And what's our book type? Well, our book type is non-fiction. So you can see now what I mean by keyword arguments. And our author equals Brad Stone. Okay. So you can see here now that, like previous lectures, we start by creating our function. Next we have our two parameters, book type and author. Then when we call our function, so in our functions call, which is here, we have book type equals non-fiction and author equals Brad Stone. So there's no confusion here now as to what author and book type are. So let's run this and see what we get. There we go. This is a non-fiction book. The author is Brad Stone. And like in other lectures, we could clean this up by using title method and other items within our function. I hope you found this lecture helpful, and as always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you. Hi everybody and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to be looking at keyword arguments. So a keyword argument is a name-value pair that you pass to a function. You directly associate the name and the value in the argument. So when you pass the argument to the function, there is no confusion. Also, with keyword arguments, the keyword order does not matter. So let's have a look at how we will do this. So I started off with some comments. Positional arguments, but this is going to change now to keyword arguments. Positional arguments was our last lecture. Keyword arguments, there we go. Now let's start off by creating our function. Create a function. Perfect. And how do we do that? Well, DEF. And we're going to stick with our book function, so book description. Book description, so we have book type. And we have author. Okay, there we go. Don't forget your colon. So then we have our three quotes. Display book information. You always have to put in a description of your function. Now, what do we want the function to do? Like the last lecture, we want to print, quote, / new line. This is a, leave our quote there, close our quote there, plus book type, plus book, space book. Don't forget we're forming a sentence here, so in your quotes you still need your spaces. Then we print, the author is, the author is, space, plus author. Here we go, plus, full stop. Okay, close our brackets. Now, book description. So we're calling our function here, this is our function call. And like we said here now, what we're going to do is add in keyword arguments in the syntax of a name-value pair. So we have book type. And what's our book type? Well, our book type is non-fiction. So you can see now what I mean by keyword arguments. And our author equals Brad Stone. Okay. So you can see here now that, like previous lectures, we start by creating our function. Next we have our two parameters, book type and author. Then when we call our function, so in our functions call, which is here, we have book type equals non-fiction and author equals Brad Stone. So there's no confusion here now as to what author and book type are. So let's run this and see what we get. There we go. This is a non-fiction book. The author is Brad Stone. And like in our lectures, we can clean this up by using title method and other items within our function. I hope you found this lecture helpful, and as always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now in this lecture we're going to be looking at setting default values within a function. So when you create a function, you can define a default value for each parameter. If an argument for a parameter is provided in the function call, Python uses that argument. If not, it uses the parameter's default value. So let's go back to our book program. So as always, let's start out with def book description. Now what we're going to put in is author name. So author name. And then we're going to have a default value here, book type equals non-fiction. Okay, so there we go. Nothing too drastically new there. Now, open our quotes, display book information. Close our quotes. And as always, print, open double quote, backslash new line. This book is a, close our quote, plus book type, plus full stop. Okay, next, print the author of this book is, close our quote, plus author name. Okay, and I've made a typo up here, so as you can see I've mistyped my E in name, so let's just change that and change it here so we don't have any conflict errors. Author name dot title, brackets, close our bracket, and then plus full stop. Okay, now on to the interesting part, our function call. So book description, nothing new here, and our author is Ashley Vance. Okay, so I'm only putting in one argument here because back in our function description we set a default value of book type non-fiction, so we don't need to pass the argument from our function call of book type. Let's run that. Oh, error. What did we get? Line 11. Here we are. Instead of putting in a full stop, I put it in a comma. There we go. Okay, so let's run this again. There we go. This book is non-fiction. The author of this book is Ashley Vance. So as you can see, because we put in a default value in our parameters, book type, we don't need to mention book type in our function call down here. Also, another important thing to note here is that we have changed the order of the parameters. This is because default values makes it necessary to specify a type of book as an argument. The only argument left in the function call is the author's name. Python still interprets this as a positional argument, so if the function is called with just an author's name, the argument will map the first parameter listed in the function's definition. This is the reason the first parameter needs to be author name. This is provide just an function call, which we've done. And there we go. If we wanted to overwrite our default value of non-fiction for book type, we could do the following. Into our function call and add in a new argument. So Ashley Vance, comma, book type equals fiction. So let's see now. So as you can see, and B, run that. This book is a fiction book. I need to tidy that up. So what I'm going to do now here is just correct that. This is a fiction. There we go. Let's run it again. This is a fiction. I should say book there, not fiction. Fiction book. There we go. This is a fiction book. The author of this book is Ashley Vance. So as you can see here, by entering in an argument, book type equals fiction, we overwrite our parameter's default value. So I hope you found that useful. And as always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now in this lecture we're going to be looking at returning a value. So a function doesn't always have to display its output directly. Instead it can process some data and return a value or a set of values. The value the function returns is called the return value. The return statement takes a value from inside a function and sends it back to the line that called the function. So let's take a look at an example, and let's start off with something simple. Let's format a name. So as always I've opened up with some comments and let's define our function. So formatted name. That's our function name. So what do we have? We have our first name and we have our last name. Okay, and there we go. Then we describe our function with our three quotes. Return a formatted name. Close it with our quotes. Okay, so what this is going to become, it's going to become a full name. So full name equals, and what's it going to be? It's going to be made of our first name plus a space. Don't forget you have to add in a space. And our last name. Okay, and we want it to return full name. And we want to make sure that everything is properly uppercased. Let's work on calling this now. So let's say teacher, which is myself I suppose, equals formatted name. I want to format that and let's give it the two values, Tony and Staunton. Obviously this can be your name. Print call that now and see what we get. Oh, error. Why? Well, that is because I misspelled return, which is appalling. Apologies for that. So let's run it again. And there we go. A nice, clean, formatted output of a name. So what you can imagine this is a application, so an online form or signing up to a web app or whatever it might be. And the user, when they enter in the name, we don't know if they're going to enter in Tony, uppercase, lowercase, Staunton, uppercase, lowercase. What this does is it ensures that the output is the same formatted way each time. Let's look at another example. And let's look at a username. So let's have a look here. So again, we start off with defining our function, get formatted username. Okay, and this username is going to be somebody's email address. So ADD-RESS, email address. Okay, and as always with our quotes, return a formatted username. There we go, close our quotes. So our username equals email address dot strip. And if you remember, the strip when used with a string strips out all the white space. So if somebody puts in a white space before or after their email address, obviously that's not going to work, but this will strip out any error like that. So return username. Then user equals get formatted username, and let's give it Tony at example.com. And don't forget you need to enclose this in quotes. Let me just do that now, quotes. And let's just add in some white space here. Let's just add in, and there we go. Print user. Okay. And now, if this doesn't work, we should have a big chunk of white space to the right of our email address. But let's run it. There we go. No white space here. Very, very nice. So that's how, again, you can clean up user input related to an email address or a username. So I hope that makes sense. Thanks for listening. And as always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to look at making arguments optional. So far they've all been required. We're going to look now at making them optional. So let's take a look and jump right in. So as you can see, I've amended my comments here, making arguments optional. So sometimes it can make sense to make an argument optional so that people using the function can choose to provide extra information only if they want to. We can use default values to make an argument optional. Let's update our get formatted name to include a middle name. So let's go. So def formatted name. And so as we had previously, first name, middle name, and now last name. So just one update there. Don't forget your colon and our quotes. Return a full name. So full name equals first name plus space plus middle name plus space plus last name. Now return, and spell it correctly this time, not like our last lecture, return full name dot title. Okay. So like we did in the last one, teacher equals formatted name, Tony, James, which is my middle name, name of my granddad, Staunton. Okay. Print teacher. And let's run that. There we go. Tony James Staunton, neatly and cleanly formatted. Now this function can handle the first, middle and last name. However, middle names are not always needed, and as this function is at the moment, it would not work if we tried to use it without a middle name. To make the middle name option, we can give the middle name argument an empty default value and ignore the argument unless it is provided with a value. In the next code example, we set the default value of middle name to an empty string and move it to the end of the list of parameters. So let's have a look at exactly how we do that. Well, let's take out this code here, so delete that. So we're starting just beneath the comment again. And let's go, so if middle name, so if we get a middle name, well then, full name will be first name plus space plus middle name plus space plus last name. Otherwise, else, our full name is going to be first name plus space plus last name. And then a return value is going to be return full name dot title. So either way, we can handle it with or without a middle name. Okay, now let's call our formatted name. So teacher, just like the last one, formatted name. So it's going to have Tony as the first name, Staunton as the second name, and now the third name, the middle name, sorry. Well, that's going to be James, just like the last example. But before we put that in, we need to make a change in the parameters of our function. So we need to just remove middle name from here. So let me just command and X that. And now we need to put it in here. I'll explain why now in a moment. And what we need to do is, because middle name is optional, we now need to give that an empty string. And that's it done now. So middle name now, its default value is an empty string. So it's not provided for, middle name will just take an empty string value. And here, we finish this off with James, and that's the middle name. Now, and the reason we've changed the order of these is because a middle name may not often be provided. Some users may or may not provide it. And because of that, we moved that to the end of our function call, the end of our arguments in our function call. Okay, so let's print teacher, and let's see what we get. There we go. Tony James Staunton. So Tony, Staunton, James. So reordered into first name, middle name, last name. Okay, so far so good. So what happens when we don't have a middle name? Teacher equals formatted name, Tony Staunton. Here we go. Let's see what that gives us. That gives us an error because I'm too ahead of myself, and I forgot my print statement. And let's see what that gives us. There we go, our second one here, Tony Staunton, so we don't have to put in a middle name. The middle name is now a default option for our user. Optional values allow functions to handle a wide range of user cases while letting function calls remain as simple as possible. So I hope all that made sense. As always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now, did you know that functions can also return lists and dictionaries? No, you didn't? Well, let's explain how they can do that. Let's look at a new example. So as always, let's start off with our comments. Today's date, the 7th of the 11th, 2016, which just happens to be my birthday. Thank you very much. And what better way to spend my birthday than teaching you guys? Returning a dictionary. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's create a new function. Build book. Okay, should come as no surprise that our example program in this lecture is involving a book. So let's have the book name, let's have the author, let's have the publisher. Okay, don't forget your colon, and then open up with your comments. Create a dictionary of book information. Okay, close our comment. So book equals, here we open our dictionary. So we have name. And again, don't forget, dictionaries are key value pairs. So we have the key, name, and then the value will be name. Here we go, separated with a comma, as all dictionary key value pairs are. Then we have our author, and that will be our author. Perfect, so far so good, comma. Then we have our publisher, colon, publisher. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here, and then we have return book. Now, what exactly is this going to do for us? Well, if we say my book equals build book, okay, so what are we doing here? We're adding values into our book function. So let's go name of the book, let's go Elon Musk. And sorry, this has to be surrounded in quotes, Elon Musk. The author is Ashley Vance. And the publisher is Virgin Books. Okay. Let me just take that out there for readability and then print my book. And let's see what we get from that. We get an error, of course we do, line 11. Oh, that is an easy, simple, silly error. I'm so excited it's my birthday that I'm losing the run of myself here. So print my book. There we go, author Ashley Vance, publisher Virgin Books, name Elon Musk. So this function, build book, takes in the name, the author, the publisher, and it puts these values into a dictionary. This function takes in simple textual information and puts it into a more meaningful data structure so that you can work with that later on and do more than just printing it as we've done here. We could easily extend this function to accept other values about a book, even the book's contents, its summary, ratings, whatever it might be in the dictionary here. So I hope that made sense. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now in this lecture we're going to look at using a while loop with our functions. So within our functions we can use any and all of Python's data structures that we've discussed so far. So now in this lecture let's add a while loop to one of our previous program, which was our formatted name program. So what I've done is I've gone out and I've copied and pasted back in here our formatted name program or code from an earlier lecture. And the only thing I've changed is I've added get underscore to the front of our function name. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, welcome back. So once you have that copy and pasted done, what you need to do is you need to add in the following. While true, so we're using our flag, while true, print, \n, so new line, what is your name? Okay, close our quotes, close our brackets. So first name equals input, because we're taking input from the user this time. That's why I'm in my idle and not my Sublime IDE. First name. Last name equals input. Last name. Okay, close our quotes, close our brackets. Next we want our formatted name, so let's create a variable, formatted name, to take our function. So formatted name equals get formatted name. And the arguments that pass to that are first name and last name. Okay, there we go. And then finally, print \n, so we have a nice clean line. Hello, comma, space, close our quotes, plus formatted name, plus exclamation point to close our brackets. Okay, so let's run that and see what we get. First we have to save it, and now run it. Okay, what is your name? First name Tony, last name Staunton. Okay, let's just give it a go. First name Jim, last name Smith. Okay, so as you can see here, I did lowercase Jim, lowercase Smith, and it gave me a nice cleanly formatted Jim Smith. But you might notice now there's a problem. Frank Murphy. Our program just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. There's no way to exit this program. There's no break. There's no way to quit. There's no way to stop. So how do we do that? Well, let's look at changing our while statement now and adding in the option to quit our program. So let me close this. Kill it. Yes, kill. And what we want to do now is we want to edit this with a new code. And how do we do that? First, we need to just zap all of this here. So let's zap this. There we go. And we need to keep our while true. Then we have print \n. What is your name? So similar as before, question mark, close our quotes, brackets, print, and this is the different part now. Press Q at any time to quit this program. So now we are back to our first name. So first name equals input, first name. And what we're going to say now here, if first name is Q, so if somebody types in Q, break. Don't forget your colon, break. And we're going to do something very similar with our last name. So last name equals input, brackets, quote, last name, close our quote, close our brackets. If last name is Q, so if the user types in Q, break. So now we can actually exit our program. So formatted name equals get formatted name, first name, last name, close our brackets, and then print \n, hello, comma, space, close our quote, plus formatted name, plus exclamation point, close our quote. Okay, so now let's just have a quick look. What we told the user here is, at any time press Q to exit the program. Then we've asked for user input of their first name. And we've added in an if statement here. If the first name is Q, break. Now unfortunately if somebody's name happens to be Q, we're out of luck. So if first name is Q, break. And then the same with last name. If last name is Q, break. Otherwise print out hello and the formatted name. Now let's save this and run it and see what we get. What is your name? So Tony, lowercase, Staunton, lowercase, nicely formatted, Q. Quits. Nothing happens. So in this lecture, we've looked at a couple of pieces now. We've looked at how to put a while loop into our functions, and also how to use the break statement to exit our programs whenever the user wants. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now it is often necessary, and sometimes very, very useful, to be able to pass a list to your functions. Your function will then have direct access to the list and all of its contents. So let's get started now by doing exactly that. And as you can see here in my comments, passing a list to a function. Okay, perfect. So we start off defining our function, DEF. This is going to be an online book retailer. So let's go books available. So we want to be able to display a list of books available to our users that can buy. So books available. And have one parameter, books. Then our comment, show a list of books available to buy. Okay, perfect. Next, we create our for loop. For book in books. We create the variable books in stock, which is just to hold our list of books really. Books in stock equals the following title is available to buy. Okay. Space plus book dot title. Make sure it's capitalized where necessary. Plus full stop. Perfect. Then we print that variable. So we want to print that line out for every book that will go into our list. Books in stock. There we go. Now, to wrap this up, we create our list of books. So this will be a list of books that we have in stock that will be available to display on the website and purchased by the user. So let's just call this available equals, let's populate our list, Elon Musk, comma, the Everything Store, comma, and the Growth Map. Nice new addition to our list of books. Okay, there we go. Then finally, books available. So we're calling our function, and to that function, we pass our list. So available. Now, let's print this out and see what happens. The following title is available to buy. Elon Musk, the Everything Store, the Growth Map. So we start off by creating books available, which is our function. It expects a list of books available, which it stores in the parameter books. The function loops through the list it receives and puts each book in an available to buy message. We define a list of books and then pass the list of books to books available in our function call. I hope all that made sense. If not, please don't hesitate to ask me in the Q&A section. And as always, thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now this lecture is a nice big chunky one, so let's get straight in. And this lecture is all about modifying a list within a function. So when we pass a list to a function, the function can modify that list. Any changes we make to the list within the function are permanent. Let's look at an example. Consider an airline checking in system. So we have two types of passengers that are not checked in and passengers that are checked in. So our software is going to do two things. It's going to list out the passengers who are not checked in, it's going to take them from the not checked in list, and it's going to move them into a checked in list. So passengers who have been confirmed to check in. We're going to do this using two functions, each one doing a specific job. One will handle the not checked in passengers, and one will handle the checked in passengers. And each will print out a summary of passengers not checked in and checked in. So let's get started. Let's define our function. So def passengers. And we're going to have two parameters in here, not checked in, checked in. Okay, looks good. Colon, so let's give it our description. Simulate passengers who are not checked in. There we go. So while not checked in, and we're going to create a new variable here. So while not checked in, our current passenger, so imagine you're walking up to the check-in desk at an airport, you are the current passenger. So our current passenger equals not checked in. Obviously, you are not checked in yet, you've just walked up to the check-in desk. So what we want to do with our not checked in passengers is pop each one from the list as they check in. So let's just add in a comment here, simulate checking a passenger in. And how do we do that? Well, we give a print message, print, open up our quotes, checking in passenger, and then we have colon, space, plus current passenger. Checked in, dot append, current passenger. Okay, let's just briefly run through this while statement again. So while are not checked in passengers, so for any passengers who are not checked in, create a new variable called current passenger, and assign that variable one passenger at a time from our not checked in list. So we're popping off from the list one at a time. Next, print out a message that says checking in passenger and current passenger. Then once that's done, move the current passenger into our checked in list. So that all sounds pretty straightforward and exactly what should happen if you're a passenger who is checking in at an airport. Now our second function, show checked, hopefully I spelled that right, checked in passengers. So you can tell straight away what this function is going to do. Checked in. Don't forget your colon. Open up our comments. Show all the passengers who have checked in. Now, you've checked in at the front desk. You've obviously been moved to the checked in list because you've got your boarding pass or whatever it might be, and then you've gone through security. So print, \n, nice new line. The following passengers have been checked in. Okay, what's next? Well, 4 passengers in checked in, so our checked in list, print, passengers. Something similar to what we've seen before. Now, we want to create our two lists. Not checked in equals, we're just going to do one passenger at the moment, which is going to be myself, just to make sure that we're working okay. Tony Staunton. And checked in is empty. Why is it empty? Because we're going to move through the list of non-checked in passengers to checked in. So one list will become the other, essentially. Now, we call our two functions. First function is passengers. And in that function, we pass it two arguments. Not checked in and checked in. Next, we call our second function, show checked in passengers. We're only passing that one argument, checked in. Now, there's a lot going on there. Let's run this and keep our fingers crossed. We have an error at line 18. Let's see. For passengers checked in, I forgot my colon. It's always one of my downfalls, forgetting the colon. I don't know why. I'm going too fast, I suppose. Let's run it again. Line 19, print passengers. And because I forgot my colon, it didn't indent. So let's try it again. Third time lucky. There we go. Checking in passenger, Tony Staunton. The following passengers have been checked in. Tony Staunton. Okay, so let's just expand out our list here now. Let's go with Mary Murphy. Let's go with Frank Waters. Let's add in one more for luck, and let's go with Sam Smith. No relation to the singer. Let's run this again. There we go. Checking in passenger Sam Smith, Frank Waters, Mary Murphy, Tony Staunton. The following passengers have been checked in. So there's a space there in Frank, so we can just remove that. So again, let's just run quickly through this code to make sure we understand exactly what's going on. So we start off by defining our first function, and this function is going to simulate passengers who are not checked in. Our function has two parameters, not checked in and checked in. So while we have passengers in our not checked in, the current passenger equals not checked in dot pop. So move one passenger at a time from our checked in, not checked in list to the current passenger. Then print a message saying checking in passenger, current passenger. Next, move the current passenger into our checked in list. Okay, simple. Well, kind of simple. Following that, we have our second function. Show checked in passengers that has one parameter, checked in. So our comment here, show all the passengers who have checked in. Print the following passengers have checked in. So for passengers in our checked in list, print passengers. So that's a simple loop. We're looping through the passengers in our checked in list until there are none left. Following that, we create two lists, not checked in and checked in. And then finally, we call our two functions and pass it the arguments needed, not checked in and checked in, which are our lists essentially. Our first list has a list of 3 or 4 not checked in passengers, and our second list is empty. But when we go through our functions, the second list checked in is full of our passengers. A lot of passengers, a lot of checked in, checked out, whatever it might be. So run through this function and through this program a couple of times to make sure that you understand it. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now in this short lecture, we're going to look at how to prevent a function from modifying a list. So I have here on the left hand side of our screen our last lecture and all the code that was involved in that. And as you know, in this lecture, we modified the not checked in list to become the checked in list. And as I said in this lecture, as soon as we move a passenger from not checked in to checked in, the checked in list becomes empty. So every time we remove a passenger from this list, that's it, they're gone. There's no getting them back. So you may not always want to do this. You may decide that you want to keep a copy of the not checked in people. Now, for whatever reason that might be, or for whatever list you're dealing with, you might always have to keep a copy of the original list. Well, we can address this issue by passing the function a copy of the list. Any changes made by the function will only affect the copy. You can send a copy of a list to a function like this. So let's use the function from the last lecture. Passengers, list name, square brackets, and a colon inside. And that's what's called the slice, or a slice. So it's slice notation. The slice notation makes a copy of the list to send to the function. If we didn't want to empty the list of not checked in passengers in our passengers function, we could call the passengers function like this. So passengers, so the same as above and in our last lecture, not checked in, and then we want to make a copy. We want to pass the function a copy of the list, not the original list. Checked in. And that's how we would do it there. So the only drawback to using a copy of a list is that it creates more memory usage in your system and in your program. So if possible, always use the original of your list. I hope that made sense. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now we're going to continue on in the same vein as our last few lectures, and that is our programs of airline kind of check-in, not checked-in features. So for many of our programs, we won't know in advance how many arguments a function needs to accept, but Python allows a function to collect an arbitrary number of arguments from the calling statement. So the function in the following program has one parameter, but this parameter collects as many arguments as the calling line provides. Let's create our new function, and let's take a step back from where we were with our previous programs and imagine ourselves online booking ourselves a flight. So create passenger, and we're going to have requests. Okay, there we go. That parameter will collect all the user requests. Print user requests in our description. There we go. Print requests. Now let's call our function. So create passenger. Now, what request would a passenger when they're booking a flight make? Aisle seat, or let's say window seat. I like window seats. Window seat. Seat near the top of the plane. Near the top of the plane. There we go. Now, is there any other request that a user might make? Actually, I was booking and you're allowed to request breakfast. So you can pre-order your breakfast on the plane. So pre-order breakfast. Now, there we go. And let's print this out. An error. Now, I've left that in by design, so we have an error, unlike my previous errors. I had said at the start of this lecture, we can create a function that will allow us to accept an arbitrary number of arguments. So here we have an arbitrary number of arguments, and a request, and a print request. But how do we actually accept the arbitrary number of arguments? We just need to make a small change here, and we need to add in asterisks to request. The asterisk in the parameter tells Python to make an empty tuple called requests, and put in it whatever values it receives. Now, let's have a look. Run it again. There we go. So as you can see, when creating this passenger, they've requested a window seat near the top of the plane, and they've pre-ordered breakfast. Very, very nice. In our next lecture, we'll replace the print statement with a loop and run through each of the passenger requests. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hey everybody and welcome back. This is just a brief lecture to improve upon our passenger creation program in our last lecture. So as I said at the end of our last lecture, we can add in a loop to loop through our passenger request. So we're starting from scratch to help our muscle memory. So create passenger, asterisk, to allow for an arbitrary number of arguments to pass to the parameter, requests. And our function summary, as always, summarize passenger requests. There we go, close it off. Print. New line. This passenger, let's capitalize that, this passenger has requested has requested, colon space, for request, in requests, print. Now we put in a little hyphen just to make our code nice and clean, plus requests. Now finally we call our function. Create passenger, window seat, top of plane, and breakfast. Now, and let's see what happens when we run this. There we go, this passenger has requested window seat, top of plane, breakfast. And you can imagine combining this little program with our programs from previous lectures where we were checking in passengers and we're able to say, passenger Tony Staunton has checked in, he has requested the following, window seat, top of plane, breakfast. So you can really see, lecture by lecture, we're building upon what we've learned, we're adding structure to what we've learned, and we have the ability to expand and improve our programs. I hope this helped. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now so far we've seen several different types of arguments, including positional and arbitrary. Now we do have the ability within Python to mix those two together. So if we want the function to accept several different kinds of arguments, the parameters that can accept arbitrary numbers of arguments must be placed last. So as we saw in our last one, we had airplane requests from a passenger. So we would have to put asterisk requests last in our parameters list. So we'll see how that looks now in a second. What Python then does is, it matches the positional and keyword arguments and then collects any remaining arguments in the final parameter. So let's have a look at how we would do that. So as always, DEF, and you can see my comments up the top, positional and arbitrary arguments together. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to put our passenger requests and a seat number together. So let's do that now. So we're going to assign seat. So we have seat, and then we will have requests. As always with our comments, assign a seat and requests to a passenger. Okay, close that off. Now, so print / new line, assign seat, and what we'll do now is, because seat is going to be a number, so we'll say assign seat space plus, we'll have to change that seat number into a string seat, plus the following requests, plus don't forget your quotes to make this back into a string, assign seat number, actually put seat number into that, so assign seat number, so it could be seat number 001, the following passenger requests. Okay, there we go. And close that off. So, for request, in request, so like we had in the last lecture, print, hyphen, plus request. And now what we need to do is we need to call our definition. So, assign seat. Let's give this seat number, it's my birthday yesterday, 36, not saying anything about my age, and let's give them a window seat. Okay, and let's see if that works. There we go. Assign seat number 36, the following passenger request, a window seat. So once again, we can build on the previous lectures that we've done, and we can look at building up a complete program as we move through all these functions. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now in this lecture we're going to look at using arbitrary keyword arguments. So sometimes you'll want to accept an arbitrary number of keyword arguments, but you won't know in advance what kind of information will be passed to the function. When this happens, you can write functions that accept as many key value pairs as the calling statement provides. In this coming up code sample, the function seat profile always takes in a first and a last name, which is the first and the last name of our passenger, but it also accepts an arbitrary number of keyword arguments as well. So let's take a look at how it works. So let's define our function. So seat profile. What we're doing here is we're building up everything that we know about a particular passenger sitting in a particular seat. So let's go. So let's say seat profile. So we have their first name. Whoa, right the wrong way. So first name. We have their last name. And then we have two asterisks. And we call this info. Actually, we won't. We'll call this passenger info. It's more user-friendly. Passenger info. Okay, there we go. Colon. Then we put in our description. Build a dictionary containing all passenger information. There we go. Okay. So first, our profile has to be empty because we're going to accept information in. So profile. So there we go, an empty dictionary. Next, our profile takes in first name. So we have the key, first name, and the value first. Next, our profile takes in last name. Exact same as above, key, last name equals the last name of our parameters in our function. Okay, so for the key and the value in passenger info, so whatever items we put in there, we're going to loop through the profile, key is going to equal the value. Now we're going to return the profile. Now, so our passenger profile, so everything we know about the passenger, will equal the seat profile. So who's going to be in the seat? Well, first, it's going to be my first name, Tiny, no, Tony, Staunton. Okay. Now, what about putting in arguments that we didn't know ahead of time, like we said at the beginning of this lecture? Well, we want to give them a seat number. Seat number equals, let's say 36 again. And let's say breakfast ordered. Breakfast ordered equals yes. Okay, now let's see how this runs and what we get out of it. So to do that, we say print passenger profile. Okay, fingers crossed. Didn't work. What's the point crossing our fingers? It didn't work because that's a dot after Tony and it should be a comma. Now, there we go. A dictionary of everything that we know about this passenger. So their first name is Tony, their last name is Staunton, they've ordered breakfast and their seat number is 36. Very, very nice. So we're going to look at putting all this together now in a bigger program later on. It takes practice to learn to use different types of arguments correctly and to know when to use each type of argument. For now, use the simplest approach that gets the job done. Thanks for listening and I'll see you in the next lecture.
Naomba Mungu isirekodi mingi.
Hi everybody and welcome back. Now so far we've been storing our functions in our main programs, but we can go a step further than this by storing our functions in a separate file called a module. We can then import that module into our main program. An import statement tells Python to make the code in our module available in the currently running program. Storing your functions in a separate file allows you to reuse them in different programs and to also share them out with many different developers. So there are several ways to import a module and let's take a look at one now. In this lecture we're going to look at how to import an entire module. So as you can see here, I have my comments and actually today is the 10th. Just change over here to the 10th. So you can see that I've dual screened my IDE for this lecture and we'll get to that now in a few minutes. So the name of this lecture is our module because this is going to be our module and then importing an entire module. So the first thing you need to do is to create a module. And how do you do that? Well, as you can see here, I've gone back to a previous lecture and I've taken our function books available and pasted it in here. Now, I've renamed this file, I've named this file because it's a new file. I've named this file books2buy.py. So a module is a file ending in py and it contains the code you want to import into your program. So this module here now is ready to be imported. Well, it's almost ready to be imported. We have to make a couple of small changes. First, we need to remove these two lines here. And we remove those because we're going to be passing information from our main program. A module simply contains our function only. So let's remove them. So as you can see now, this is just our function. And because we don't know how many books our main program is going to pass, we need to add in the asterisks so that our function will take an arbitrary number of books from our other program. So this is now our module. There we go. Let's save that. And if we run it, nothing happens. So you can see here, it runs without error, but it doesn't output anything because there are no arguments passed to our books parameter. Okay, so that's our module created. So I hope that made sense. Now make a separate file, and I've done so here, called show books available. Now make a separate file, and I've done so here, called show books available. And it's worth saying at this point that both your module and your main program file have to be in the same directory, otherwise your program is not going to run. So how do we import the module into our main file? Well, we start off with import, and then the module name, and our module name is books2buy. Okay, let's see what happens if we run that. Nothing. Same as if we actually ran our module. It's empty because we haven't passed any information to our module. So in essence, our module is running from our main program. When Python sees the import keyword followed by the name of the module, it knows to open the file books2buy.py and copy all the functions from it into our program. Now, to actually call the function from the imported module, enter the name of the module. So the name of the module is books2buy. There we go. And as we said at the top here, import books2buy. So now we're going to tell the file that we've opened, books2buy, what module we want from it. And we do that with a dot. And then the name of the module, books available. Books available. Okay, there we go. Now, what happens if we just run this now? Well, let's take a look. Nothing, because again, we haven't passed any information into the books parameter. So let's have a look at fixing that now. So then we follow our books available with brackets, quotes, and let's give it the name of the book, Elon Musk. Okay, now we're starting to look like it's going to pass information, so let's run this. And there we go. The following title is available to buy Elon Musk. Okay, let's try adding in some more information. The Everything Store. There we go, let's run it again. Okay, very good. So let's just recap quickly on what we've done. We copied and pasted a program from a previous lecture and we removed everything but the actual function. So we removed the print and the information that we're feeding into the parameters. So once that's done, that is now a module. And a module is like any other Python program in that it is saved with a py, but it only contains functions. Next, we create a new file, showbooksavailable.py. We told this file that we want to import the module books2buy. So that's the file name from our code over here, from our file over here. Then to call the actual function, we said books2buy, which is the file name. So it's telling Python to go to this file, then go to this function within the module and insert the following information, the following arguments into the parameters within the function. And once we do that, it runs. Okay, so I hope that made sense. In the next lecture, we'll look at importing specific functions, not just the entire module. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi everybody and welcome back. Now in our last lecture we saw how to import an entire module into our main program, and what that meant was that every function from the module was available in our main program. In this lecture we're going to look at importing just a specific function, so only one function. So let's look at how we do that. Well, as you can see on the left hand side here, I still have my books to buy module open, and I still have the first function that we had in our last lecture, but I've also copied and pasted in a function from a previous lecture, and that function is book description. And again, I've removed the last couple of lines which fed information to the function, and I removed the function's calling statement as well. So again, if I were to run this now, it doesn't do anything. You can see here, zap, 0, doesn't do a thing. Now, how do we import one specific function from our module, of which we have two functions, into our main program? Well, let's look at how we do that now. So I'm going to change our first line, and I'm going to say from. So from books to buy, so very English friendly. So from our program books to buy, or from our module books to buy, import. And what function do I want to import? Well, let's start off with our first function. So import books available. Okay, so that is very English readable, or very user friendly readable, I suppose you might say. From the module books to buy, import the function books available. Now, because we told Python that much information, we can remove the module name here, books to buy. So all we need is the function name, books available, and the arguments that we are going to pass to it. So let me run this. There we go. The following title is available to buy, Elon Musk, the everything store. So very, very simple. Now we could change that again, and we could say import book description. Let's just do that. Book description, book, BSC or IPTION, book description. And we need to change this here, so actually I'll remove this line for the moment. Book description. And the information that we have to pass to this is the author name, because as we see here, our book type is already a default setting, so we have the author name. So the author name in this case, let's say Ashley Vance. Somewhere Ashley Vance's ears are burning listening to all the times we mentioned her name in these lectures. So run this program. There we go. This is a non-fiction book. The author of this book is Ashley Vance. So as you can see there, we're importing both modules, both functions, one at a time. So we're only importing specific functions. Book description, and in the previous piece of code, books available. Now, in the last lecture, we imported the entire module into our program. But let's just say our module has 100 functions in it, and we only wanted to import 2 of them. How do we do that? Would we have to write separate from statements? Would we have to write separate programs and bring them all together? Well, we can separate out our functions and import more than one function with a comma. So here we go. Book description. Actually, let's just change the order of this. Let's go back to books available. Books available. So we're importing the first one. Books available, comma, books, book description. There we go. Now, so let's just see when we do that. Still runs fine, but without our first function. So let's add in some information on our first function. And our first function is books available. And let's go Elon Musk. And let's just, Elon Musk. Oh, don't you be too happy with that. M-U-S-K. Now, let's just add in a line here, a print statement, print. And let's say this is our first function. There we go. Okay, and let's add in another print statement here and say print. This is, don't forget our opening double quotes. This is our second function. There we go. And let's see what happens now when we run it. There. This is our first function. The following type is available to buy, Elon Musk. And this is our second function, so that's not exactly tidy. And why is that all the way up there? Well, it's because I haven't put in a new line here, and because this